Hey, Nicholas, it's me again. In the summertime, I just won't leave you alone. My goodness. Anyway, I am back again to read Captain Underpants and the Perilous Plot of Professor Poopypants. So, if you remember the last 3 chapters that we read, Professor Poopypants got the job at the school, at the boys' school, because he thought children wouldn't make fun of his name. And he was wrong, because the children laughed the whole time they found out what his real name was. And then somebody asked his middle name, and it was Pee-Pee, and it didn't go over too well because they laughed even more. So George and Harold made a new comic with Captain Underpants, and it got into the hands of Professor Poopypants. So now we get to read a couple more chapters to see what happens when he reads the story that the boys read. So here we are, chapter 11, Captain Underpants and the Pied Pooper of Pequot. There he is. There he is, with Professor Poopypants. And of course it was written by George Beard and Harold Hutchins. George and Harold. Once upon a time, in the city of Pequot, Ohio, there was a science teacher whose name was Pippi Poopypants. My middle name is Pippi. Everybody laughed at his funny name. Ha 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 ha. This made Pippi mad. I'll show them. So he built an army of gerbil jogger 2000s. Ha 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 ha. He put a gerbil in each one. Hey, man. But he couldn't make them do any evil stuff. Rats. Tap, tap, tap. And there they are. And there's the gerbil jogger, but he's tap dancing. They won't do anything evil. Then he thought of an evil plan. But of course, he made a bunch of little headphones and put them on the gerbils. Hey! Soon, Professor Poopypants' army of gerbil jogger 2000s were off on an evil rampage. They all headed straight for the school. Ha 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 ha! Help! The gerbil jogger 2000 broke into the cafeteria. They just knocked over some cupcakes, and now they're attacking the gym teacher. Quick! Somebody save the cupcakes! Here he is, Professor Poopypants and the army of gerbil jogger 2000s. Professor Poopypants and his evil army rounded up all of the children. Follow me! This looks like a job for Captain Underpants! What seems to be the problem? I'm taking these kids to be my slaves. And just who do you think you are? I'm Professor Poopypants. They all laughed. There he is. Poor Professor Poopypants. Even the gerbil jogger 2000s are laughing at him. Professor Poopypants was really mad, so he pressed a button on his bow tie. And his bow tie transformed him into a whoosh, whoosh, giant cyborg. Ha 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 ha. Uh-oh. They had a big fight, but Captain Underpants was faster than a speeding waistband. And there they are. There's Professor Poopypants transforming into the giant cyborg, and there he is trying to step on Captain Underpants. More powerful than boxer shorts. Howdy! And able to leap tall buildings without getting a wedgie. Tra-la-la-la! Professor Poopypants chased our hero into an auto junkyard. I got you now, waistband warrior. Clunk. Now I'm going to crush you. Captain Underpants pressed a button on his utility waistband, and out popped the tiny toilet of truth. Captain Underpants aimed the tiny toilet of truth at Robo Pippi. There we are. His tiny toilet of truth. Wonder what it's going to do. I'm rusted! Captain Underpants saved the day. But what about the evil gerbils? They're not evil. Look, Professor Poopypants was controlling them with this. Is it magic? No. Is it music? Listen. Babe, I got you, babe. Ah! Please, God, make it stop. Help! This would make anybody turn evil. So Captain Underpants destroyed the controller. Hallelujah! Tra-la-la-la! Hooray for Captain Underpants! The end. And there you go. So now, the Gerbil Jogger 2000 not doing evil things. And there's a notice on the back. All animal cruelty was simulated. No actual gerbils were forced to listen to Cher. She's a singer. There we go. But here, is a very angry Captain Poopypants. Let's check him out. Chapter 12, Professor P goes crazy. In his entire life, Professor Poopypants had never been as angry as he had at that very moment. As he stood in the hallway, something inside his fragile brain snapped. He began shaking and sweating uncontrollably. Oh dear. Now he's very, very angry. Oh dear, look, there's steam coming out of his ears. And he's sweating because he's getting really hot. Suddenly, a wicked smile stretched across the professor's face. Mumbling to himself and giggling, he had hit rock bottom. And he decided to pull the rest of the planet down with him. Pippi P. Poopypants was going to take over the world. But before I can tell you that story, I have to tell you. Oh, never mind. I'll just tell you that story. Uh-oh. Look at. I think he's gone mad. Look at. He's got drool coming from his mouth, and he's crushing the comic strip. And now we're on to chapter 13, and it's called Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Pardon me, it's not called that. It's called Honey, I Shrunk the School, which is probably even better because then that means there's nowhere to go. But we all want to go back to school because we miss our friends. Right. Professor Poopypants opened the storage closet in the classroom and took out the Shrinky Pig 2000 and the Goosey Grow 4000. He also grabbed the empty Gerbil Jogger 2000 and stumbled outside with his inventions. The crazed professor giggled wildly to himself as he aimed the Goosey Grow 4000 at the Gerbil Jogger 2000. And there he is, aiming it at the Gerbil Jogger 2000. I wonder what's going to happen. Suddenly, the Gerbil Jogger 2000 grew 10 stories high. Professor Poopypants began his long climb up the side of the giant Gerbil Jogger 2000. It took almost an hour, but eventually he reached the huge glass dome, and at the top, he squeezed his way inside. "Mommy," said a little boy who was walking with his mother, "a little old man just crawled into that giant robot suit, and it's about to take over the school." "Oh, for heaven's sake," said his mother. "Where do you come up with this nonsense? Next, you'll be telling me that a giant man in his underwear is fighting a huge robot in the middle of the city." Uh-oh. I think that's the same boy who told his mom about something that Captain Underpants was doing in the last story we read. Professor Poopypants was now in control of the colossal Gerbil Jogger 2000. He reached down with his mighty arm, picked up the Shrinky Pig 2000, and named it at the school. Just then, George and Harold looked out the window. "Hey," said George, "isn't that the gerbil jogger thingy?" "Yeah," said Harold. "Why is it so big?" "I don't know," said George. "But it's getting bigger by the second." So there's the Gerbil Jogger 2000 that was 10 stories high, and he's pointing the Shrinky Pig at the school full of children. And George and Harold are looking out the window. Ay, ay, ay. Said Harold, I don't think it's getting bigger. I think we're getting smaller. Oh dear, look, he shrunk the school. So small it's falling into the grass. One more chapter. Chapter 14, The Perilous Plot. Professor Poopypants reached down and picked up the tiny school with his giant robotic hand. Everyone screamed in horror. Oh, there he is, evil Professor Poopypants, and the tiny, tiny school. Wonder what he's gonna do. In no time at all, eyewitness newswoman Ingrid Ashley was on the scene. "What do you want from us?" shouted reporter Ashley. "I want a pencil," screamed Professor Poopypants. "A pencil?" asked reporter Ashley. "Here, take mine." She tossed a yellow number 2 pencil toward the giant robot. Professor Poopypants reached down with his giant robot arm, picked up the Goosey Grow 4000, and aimed it at the pencil. The pencil grew to the size of a tree trunk, and Professor Poopypants grabbed it. "Follow me," he said. And so there's Ingrid Ashley, the reporter, and she threw her pencil, and there he makes the pencil as big as a tree trunk. What can you do with a big pencil? I don't know. The giant robot led the news crew to the center of downtown Pequa. There, he found 3 large white billboards. He put down the Shrinky Pig 2000 and the Goosey Grow 4000 and began writing on the billboards with his giant pencil. It looks like he's writing a formula for something, but I don't know what. So there he is with the news crew here, and he's gone to the center of the city and he's writing a riddle kind of thing, but it looks kind of evil. And that's the end of chapter 14. So I'm going to leave it here. Kind of looks like the sun came back out because it was raining. So I'll see if I can go sit outside for a little bit. And hopefully you're doing the same thing and having lots of fun. And I will see you in a couple of days with the next couple of chapters of Captain Underpants and the Perilous Plot of Professor Poopypants. Bye-bye, my friend.